Welcome to Iraqi Dinar Hub. Today we're retracking a big story coming out of Iraq's financial sector, one that's quickly becoming the main focus for anyone following the dinar. Reports are circulating about the introduction of a brand new 50 dinar note, and while it might sound like a small move, it's actually being described as a major piece of Iraq's long-term monetary reform plan. This isn't just about adding another bill to the system. It's being framed as a key step in a much larger economic shift. Statements said to come from Iraq's central bank leadership have added even more weight to this development, sparking deep discussion about why this note is being introduced now and what it could mean moving forward. The conversation around the new 50 dinar note is surprisingly symbolic. Many analysts are calling it a bridge, not just a small denomination, but a link between Iraq's past financial framework and the new system the country is moving toward. That word bridge has caught on because it captures the idea that this isn't just another piece of paper money. It's a tool to help connect where Iraq's economy has been to where it's heading. In that sense, this note represents movement, a visible step forward in the broader reform strategy. At the center of all this is Iraq's central bank governor, whose statements have fueled much of the speculation. Reports say he's been describing the monetary reform process as being in its final stage. And that particular phrasing has caught everyone's attention. When someone at that level uses specific words like final phase, analysts pay close attention. It's being read as a clear signal that the long process of economic rebuilding and reform, something Iraq has been working on for years, is close to wrapping up. The timing of this new note release seems to match perfectly with that narrative. One big reason this 50 dinar note is sparking so much analysis is because of its value. For years, Iraq has operated mostly with large bills, 25,000 and 50,000 dinar notes, which makes sense when a currency's value is low. But introducing something as small as a 50 dinar bill feels like the total opposite of what the system currently needs. That's why many believe this new denomination isn't meant for today's economy, but for the future one. Small notes like this usually appear when a currency is preparing to gain strength, something that's happened in other countries right before a revaluation or a major monetary shift. The logic being discussed is pretty straightforward. If Iraq's dinar were to gain value, those huge bills would quickly become impractical. Imagine trying to buy a coffee with a 25,000 note. It wouldn't make sense in a stronger economy. Smaller denominations like the 50 would become necessary for everyday purchases. So many see this as the central bank preparing the ground in advance, setting up the tools needed for a future system where the dinar holds more purchasing power. That kind of move doesn't happen by accident. It suggests strategic planning. There's also the question of timing and readiness. Designing, minting, and distributing a new denomination takes time, effort, and resources. Something a central bank wouldn't do without a solid reason. Many are reading this as a confident statement from Iraq's financial leaders. It's a sign that they believe the nation's fundamentals, things like reserves, stability, and financial structure, are strong enough to support change. From this perspective, the 50 dinar note, isn't the beginning of reform. It's the final touch before the transition fully takes shape. Observers have also been picking apart the central bank governor's exact words. He's reportedly used terms like value stability and economic transition, and in the world of central banking, that kind of language is never random. Experts say value stability likely points to inflation being under control and exchange rates being stable, both key conditions for any major currency adjustment. Meanwhile, economic transition suggests a structural shift, not a minor tweak. Put together, these clues are fueling the idea that Iraq's long financial rebuild may finally be reaching its conclusion. This whole process appears to be very deliberate, not just random steps. The release of the 50 dinar note is reportedly happening alongside other modernization efforts, like Iraq's big push toward digital banking. The country has been making real progress, moving away from a cash-heavy society and embracing things like mobile payments, cards, and electronic transfers. That modernization push fits perfectly with the introduction of a small new note. One supports the digital economy, while the other keeps physical cash practical for everyday life. Together, they show a balanced plan that covers every part of Iraq's evolving economy. In that sense, this isn't just a change in currency. It's a recalibration of the entire system. The introduction of this small denomination signals that Iraq's financial infrastructure is being retuned from top to bottom. Rolling out both digital systems and new paper notes at the same time shows that the reform is coordinated and intentional. It's not just talk anymore, it's visible, it's happening. And it suggests the long-discussed reforms are finally being implemented in real time. Another angle to this story is the international side. A monetary reform of this scale can't happen in isolation. It requires alignment with global institutions and regulatory frameworks. Iraq's cooperation with international financial bodies ensures that any new currency structure complies with global anti-money laundering and trade standards. That kind of coordination is vital if the dinar is to be recognized and traded internationally. Reports suggest that these alignments and technical preparations are already in motion, possibly even close to being finalized. That's why many experts think we're nearing a pivotal moment. You can just declare a new currency value and expect instant global acceptance. It takes coordination with trade partners, central banks, and international payment systems. The fact that Iraq appears to be synchronizing these systems now is seen as a major sign of progress. In many ways, it's the strongest evidence yet that the reform is reaching a key milestone. This moment is also being compared to past economic transitions in other countries, like Japan and South Korea, which introduced bridge denominations during their own post-Reconstruction reforms. Those smaller notes often came just before the national currency stabilized at a stronger level. The idea was both practical and psychological. It helped citizens adjust to the new reality of a more valuable currency. Iraq's 50 dinar note fits that same historical pattern, suggesting it could be a final stepping stone toward a stronger, more stable economy. Seen through that lens, the 50 dinar note is less about what it can buy today and more about what it represents, a symbol of economic renewal and national readiness. It's Iraq signaling that it's prepared to move into a new financial era and reclaim its position in the global economy. This time, analysts say the story feels different from the usual rumor cycles, because it's based on visible actions and official statements, not speculation. The difference now is that we're seeing both physical proof and official communication working hand in hand. The new note exists, and the central bank governor has publicly spoken about being in the final stage of reform. That's why this moment is being taken seriously. When a central bank introduces new currency while announcing reform completion, it's seen as a clear, we're ready signal. It marks a shift from theory to execution. Analysts are also watching the likely sequence of what happens next. Step 1 is already happening, the release of the 50 dinar notes into circulation. The next expected step would be an update from the Central Bank of Iraq, detailing how the new exchange framework will function internally. Once that structure is set, the process would move toward global synchronization, where international banks align their systems to Iraq's updated rate. Finally, that alignment would lead to what many call the rate reveal, when the new value officially appears on international markets. There are even reports that some financial institutions have been told to stay ready, which many interpret as another sign that preparations are active and ongoing. This level of coordination both inside Iraq and globally doesn't happen unless something major is on the horizon. Every indication points to the final phase of planning and implementation being in motion right now. And that's where the bridge to wealth metaphor comes back around. The new 50 dinar note is being seen as a physical symbol of Iraq. This move from decades of economic struggle toward a future built on stability and modernization. Behind the scenes, the country has been strengthening its reserves, controlling inflation, and building out digital infrastructure, the exact foundation needed for a stable currency. The bigger picture here is about national resilience. Iraq has endured massive challenges, but it's rebuilding, attracting foreign investment, it's modernizing its systems, and reasserting financial independence. The 50 dinar note stands as a reflection of that effort, representing both progress and pride. It's a small piece of paper carrying a very big message. And this isn't just a local event. If Iraq's monetary reform succeeds, it could send ripple effects through other emerging economies. Countries like Vietnam and Zimbabwe, which are also working on their own reforms, are reportedly watching closely. Iraq's success could become a model for others, showing how a nation can transition from recovery to resurgence,